Mr. Gerald Edward Bickel served in World War II in 1945 and the Korean War in 1951. Mr. Bickel grew up in Richland, Pennsylvania with his family in the late 1920s and early 1930s, the time of the Depression.
My dad worked as a cigar box. He made cigar boxes, and my mother was a homemaker. And I had two other brothers, one older and one younger.
When Mr. Bickel was 17 and a senior in high school, a recruiter came to his school. The recruiter was looking for anyone willing to enlist in World War II, and Mr. Bickel didn't question it for a second.
Did anyone or anything influence you to enlist?
Just that I wanted to be a fighter pilot in the Air Force.
Mr. Bickel was fully capable of being a fighter pilot, passing all the tests that would qualify him. But he never became one because the Air Corps had enough pilots coming back from the European branch of the war to serve. After Mr. Bickel enlisted in the United States Army Air Corps, he was immediately sent off to basic training in Amarillo, Texas.
How long were you in basic training?
I think it was 21 days, and then after they shut the school down, they didn't know what to do with it, so I had to take Army Advanced Basic Training. So actually I went through 2 phases of basic training. The Air Force basic training isn't quite as severe as the Advanced Basic Training.
Stronger. Quicker. And more accurate than they. He is learning to be part of a team, where every man's life depends on how well his buddy has learned his job.
They gave us the option to go to other schools, which I did then.
What school did you go to?
First of all, I went to sheet metal school at Chanute-Field, Illinois, and then I went to Cooks and Bakers school after that.
When his training was over, Mr. Bickel was sent to Manila, Philippines. The boat ride to the Philippines caused him to become the sickest he'd ever been. When you were on a boat for the first time, what was your experience like?
Very bad. We left San Francisco Harbor, went under the Golden Gate Bridge, and after dark we hit some bad waters, and we were sick for the next 3 days.
The majority of 5,000 men were sick, and crew members had to use hoses to wash down common areas. While in the Philippines, Mr. Bickel gained another MOS as an airplane engine mechanic. He worked in a squadron of 4-engine C-54 aircrafts with tricycle landing gears with the number 2 engine crew.
Did you have to go through a lot of training to work on the engines?
Well, the backside part about that was I went to sheet metal school, and that gave me an MOS. Then I went to Cooks and Bakers school, and that gave me an MOS, and they didn't need neither one of the MOSs I was qualified for, so then they stuck me on engines, but that was a 555 MOS, so I carried 3 MOSs. I was qualified for 3 different jobs, and that's all I did then. I was in the Philippines under that C-54 outfit.
Mr. Bickel never flew a C-54 airplane, but he did fly in one. Pilots needed 4 hours of flight time each month, and he used to be asked by the pilots to check the parachutes of the plane.
We used to go for 4 hours. That's about all. I never flew
in the middle of the night?
Sure.
Did you ever get lost?
Well, no, I was hoping he knew where he was going. He had to have shoes. If something would have happened, he would have had a parachute out, but I didn't look forward to that.
On July 4th, 1946, Mr. Bickle witnessed his first fighter jet flyby as all nations came in on planes to celebrate the Filipinos gaining their independence.
People coming in from all these different countries, that was July the 4th of 1946.
So you remember that vividly?
Yeah, that was impressive. And that was the first time I saw an American jet fighter plane too. They flew, what do they call it? Flyby.
Okay.
That's the first time I saw a jet fighter, American jet fighter. All the rest of them were prop planes, gasoline engines.
Mr. Bickle occupied himself on the days he was off by writing letters and occasional trips to beaches. Men would go to the beach to cool off and relax. Mr. Bickle recalled having a man he'd apprenticed climbing a coconut tree and cutting them down so they could all drink the milk inside.
He sent letters to his family, friends, and even his high school English teacher. He had a certain technique he would use to write up to 10 letters a day. He would write one letter, copy that single letter many times, and send it. His deployment in the Philippines lasted 9 months before he was discharged from Fort Meigs, New Jersey in November 1946.
Mr. Bickle stayed in the active reserves after being discharged in 1946 and was eventually sent to Tucson, Arizona. When he arrived in Tucson, they made him get rid of 2 of his MOSs, so he chose to keep his cook and baking MOS. He and about 8 other men cooked about 4 meals a day if they didn't need to cook in the middle of the night. He worked a 24-hour shift and was off for 48 hours at a time.
I was a cook. I cooked for these men that flew these airplanes.
Okay.
Flew with these airplanes.
So when they came in, about how many men do you think you cooked for on a regular basis?
Maybe about 220 slicers to slice the bacon. We had to slice our own bacon and lay it out. We did that the night before, after supper, before we went home. Used 100. These ration pans, they're 100. You could feed 100 supposedly. Yeah, and then if you had scrambled eggs, then you used to sit here in the middle and you had a crate of eggs here, 30 dozen here and 30 dozen here with the bowl in the middle.
Mr. Bickle was discharged from the Korean War in Tucson, Arizona, August 1951.
When he returned home, Mr. Bickle was greeted by his loving family. There was no celebration.
Did they know that you were coming home, or was it like a surprise?
Well, I used to send them a letter, like, see, you have to go through processing. Mm-hmm. And when you know that, you could just write a letter. I'm going through processing, starting tomorrow morning, and I'll be home, 2 days later or something, or 3 days later. Well, I accepted life as it's presented, I guess. I met it head on. I dealt with what I ran into. I enjoyed it. I said to my wife, that's about the best job I've ever had. I really enjoyed that, being in the military. That 1 year that I was done.
Mr. Gerald Bickle was proud to serve his country, and many are proud of him.